Good afternoon, everyone. It's obviously very hard to compete with all the very interesting conference speakers that have been here about asset prices and asset gains and how do we make money in shipping. And it's also hard to compete against the European Cup games that is going on right now, I guess. Welcome, my name is Frank Andersen. I work with Idwal, and I'm going to go through now a little bit about inspection insights, the data advantages that we have, driving condition improvements, M&A intelligence, and transparency. I'm going to break it up, so it sounds like a lot, but it's very much about all the money you spend on maritime assets. We want to make sure that they are kept in a good condition. We want to make sure that when you buy assets, they come into your fleet or into your investment portfolio in a good conditions, and this is our job. So we basically do technical due diligence, technical advisories for people who invest and finance ships. A little bit about myself. It's a recent photo, unfortunately. I come from a very commercial and operational shipping background, so I have worked for Maersk, A.P. Moller Maersk for 25 years, worked for Klaveness for 7, and then I kind of moved into the technology space, and I found the job with Idwal at the beginning of the year. And it's a very exciting journey we're on because we're starting using our many inspections and our data capabilities to be able to predict and actually benchmark. And this is what I'm going to tell you a little bit about. Just a bit about Idwal. People who are in the S&P industry probably know about the Idwal grade, but we do about, or at least last year, we did 45% of all ships sold in the market had an Idwal grade. So it's kind of a benchmark, and this is, we're pretty proud of that standardization we have made that gives the transparency because all ships are evaluated exactly the same way. So we basically, since 2019, have inspected about 15% of the global fleet. So we hold about over 12,000 ships in our database, unique ships in our database. And then obviously we inspect in over 100 different countries, and then we have offices 5 different places. So some of the pain points we have when we are in shipping and we invest in assets, maritime assets, that is, of course, that we want to make sure that the ships are well maintained for a number of reasons. Most importantly for this crowd is obviously the preservation of the value of the ship. But equally important is obviously the safety, the running cost of the ships, and further, how can we optimize the fuel efficiency and all the things we've been hearing about. And then the other pain point we have is basically it's very hard, or there's limited access to standardized data around ships' conditions and how they fare on a condition basis. So we have developed a unique approach that addresses those pain points head on, basically, as we say, by combining an extensive experience or expertise in maritime inspections with a cutting-edge technology. So we use AI and data analytic capabilities. We can provide an insight to the ship's conditions, giving a grade with subgrades, and I'll get to that in a bit. So our methodology involves a rigorous standardized inspections process. So there's a standard questionnaire when our inspectors go on board. We have a highly skilled team of inspectors that are trained and certified by us before we let them on board ships. And obviously we will inspect every component of the ships after a standard list that we have made out. And then in order to make the grade, we put it through some algorithms that weighs the different components of the inspection that have been done. A little bit about the grade, which is where we actually have standardized the way you look at a ship's conditions. The Idwal grade is consisting of 27 subgrades for different, from deck, engine, safety, crew, and stuff like that. So a lot of elements is built in, and that all linked together will give you an Idwal grade, which will be a number from 0 to 100. And often people say, when we're in the market, we only see Idwal ships with grades above 70, which is a good condition ship. But that is, of course, that most people will only sell a ship if it's get a good grade, because then you get a good price. So if you don't get a good grade, you'll go back, do a little bit of homework, make the ship better, and then you get it re-inspected and get a better grade. So we have done this since 2019, And as you saw, we do a fair amount of ships inspections every year. So 3 of the topics I'm going to touch upon today is one of them is driving condition improvements, which is obviously how can we make sure that we preserve the value of the ship, how can we make sure that it operates safe and that it is an asset that can trade at premium prices or premium rates. Some of the pain points that we actually, kind of see is the operational efficiency, the safety, the compliance about the regulatory things, and then of course the market itself, and then resale value. So there's a lot of pressure on financial security, operational efficiency, and in this very competitive and complex market. So we try to deal with that by doing a number of elements. One of them is, of course, as I said, the rigorous and regular inspections of ships. So we basically have a platform where you put in all your ships, we put them in by IMO numbers, and then you can start putting in the Idwal grades when you get them inspected. You can also get a predictive or estimated grade. So because of our huge amount of data, we can, via AI and machine learning, actually figure out what the ship probably scores. So we'll give it a range from 68 to 72. So that will give you already a good idea of what condition the ship probably is in. And then you can, from that on, you can decide which one you want to physically inspect. Because obviously you wouldn't expect your entire fleet of 100 ships, but maybe take out 25 or 30% of that. So that's how we use the data-driven insights to do that. We also try to help optimizing workflows and streamline the inspections for the owners and maintain the process so you can reduce your downtime and your operating costs. So we will come up with recommendations what can be done to improve. And then obviously we have to understand that ship owners operate differently, so we tailor-made solutions also. If you have specific focus areas you want us to be looking into, then we would do that for you and put that in as part of the report that you will get. And then obviously for people sitting in this room that finance ships, that obviously give you a transparency to the asset's value, the asset's condition, and also the future of the asset's operation profile. So the key takeaways from this is basically that leveraging our comprehensive and standardized inspection protocol or inspection reports and using our advanced data management platform, you have a transparency of your ship's conditions. All your ships will be listed, their grades will be listed, there will be a list of what needs to be done, a deficiency list of things that needs to be repaired. M&A intelligence is how we help investors that go in, or M&A advisors that go in and invest either in a fleet of ships or in a shipping company that consists of different assets. And the pressure point here is, of course, often you're under time constraints, the data reliability is not there, there's a market volatility, and you need to do this kind of compliance check and due diligence in a very short time a period of time normally when you do these investments. So the way we overcome that is obviously we hire experts in the fields. We can do all kinds of segments from offshore over tankers, bulkers, containers, drill ships, FPSOs. And then we use our standardized methodology of inspections. And then we use our checklist also to check for the compliance and we use our AI to predict the ships we don't see physically. So we don't have to inspect the entire fleet of ships to take over. We'll do an estimated grade for all the ships, and then we'll pick out the ones with the lowest, and which is representative of sister ships or similar types of ships. So we can use those data to predict the remaining ships on a desktop evaluation. So one example of that is that we recently had a project where 118 ships was for sale under one umbrella, and we ended up inspecting 24 ships, and the remaining 94 we did on a desktop basis. The challenges here was that we had limited of time, so we could only inspect about 20 ships, or 20% of the ships. There was not enough documentation for all the ships that was in the pool of 180 ships. And there was, of course, various reliability on the data. So what we did is we went in and used our predictive capabilities to grade all the ships. Then out of that, we selected a representative amount of ships, which ended up here being 24 ships, that we physically inspected. That data from those ships were then used to predict the grades on similar ships in the fleet, sister ships, ships built at the same yard, maybe 2 years older. So what came out of this was basically a report for the potential buyers that ended up buying it, that they could see an average grade of the fleet was 77, of their fleet, of the 180 ships, whereas the market average for all the ships we have inspected is 75. So they got ships slightly better than the average, and at 77 is a pretty high grade. So they knew that we're investing in solid assets. And then we made a consolidated report where we could list up common deficiencies, things that needs to be done, what needs to be done to enable a better operations and a better running of these ships. I will just rush a bit because of the timing, but the last bit is ESG, and we see a lot of interest in ESG now. So we do a part of our inspections, you can order an ESG. So we will do an asset ESG evaluation that a lot of investors and a lot of financiers needs or wants to have, so they can show that to their partners or the co-investors. And that we focus a lot of crew welfare. So we did a case study that was launched in March this year, and funnily enough, today is the day of the seafarers, actually. So we spend a lot of time. We are very engaged in social welfare on the ship. So we from all the ships we have inspected back from April 2022 up until September 23, we went in on the main types, had 10 pillars of standard or social standards, and then we rated those individually. I will go through quickly the results. So the best one was scoring 87.7, and the lowest was 34.7. And here you can see the distribution on the graph. The mid score is around these 72, and then there are some good ones and some pretty bad ones. So these was the 10 pillars we were looking at, and two that stuck out was obviously connectivity, which is an increasingly important thing for crews on board, that they can go to the internet, use their Facebook and LinkedIn or whatever they use. And then recreation in general was also an issue. Again, we can measure the best performing ship managers, the best performing flags, the best performing P&I clubs and stuff like that. So that way we can get an overview of the market and help make better decisions in respect of ESG, and especially the social part on the crew. We try to make a little bit of a correlation. I don't know how many who knows about the SHI, which is the Seafarers Happiness Index, that is being measured every quarter, and we have then compared that with our index to see what is the actual difference between those. So we call ours the social impact score, and we can see there's a big difference between the happiness of the seafarers and the impact score that we have. So if we can find out what is that gap, we can actually improve the welfare on board the ships. And it is a big issue because it's hard to get good seafarers today. It's hard to get seafarers. So it's extremely important that we treat them well and they want to come back on the ships. So key takeaway from this is that ESG transparency is essential for sustainable investments, and we see that it's becoming more and more of the requirements from people who invest in shipping, especially in bigger investors, funds, people who's out there catering for money from the public, from you and me. My time is up. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for hosting and letting us have your speech here.